both of them.
Because I've been working on both going back to back, but that's okay. Why don't we just start off with the intro here?
Just start at the beginning.
I'm going.
Yeah, once you get to E-Tank, we'll stop you.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for being here. Super excited. Once we get to E-Tank, we'll shut her down. All right. Well, my name is Dietrich. Happy to be presenting the Goal Coach Workshop to you fine people and coaches. One thing we want to make sure that you guys have is all the resources, and by doing that, you got to sign in to today's workshop. So we do have a text to sign in. If everyone can get out their phones, when they do that, we're going to text this number right here, and you're going to include the following information. Okay. You're going to put pound 123467. Okay, that's today's workshop code. On the second line, once you put your first name and last name, so we know who you are, and then finally on that third line, we're going to put your email address. And now with that, you're going to be able to have access to all the thing. I want to make sure, don't worry, we're not going to be selling your information out there. Where this goes is into our database of coaches nationwide. We have thousands of them. So go ahead and get signed in there. I think let me pull out my phone. I have an app and check it out. Looks like we have everyone signed up. There's 3, 4, 5. All right, perfect. So we'll get it started here. Thank you so much for being here again today, guys. Double Goal Coaching and the Positive Coaching Alliance. That's what we're here to talk about today, okay? Coaching for winning in life lessons. We want to combine both ideas in our coaching mission. Now, what's our impact? Who's PCA? All right. Annually, we train about 80,000 coaches. That's quite a big number here. What really stands out to me is this second line of information. Where annually, we like to reach 3.3 million youth athletes. Now, 40 million youth athletes every year participate in sports in the United States. And so obviously, that presents a big opportunity for us to expand our reach and expand our impact. All right, so as we move forward here, positive coaching. What is it? What does it mean to you guys? Now, real quick, by a show of hands, how many of us is this our first year coaching? Yeah, oh, we got one of you? Yep. All right, great. Second year coaching? All right, third year? Nice, nice. Some experienced ones. Some fourth year and above, anyone? 4 years plus of experience? All right. Well, obviously, you guys are going to be able to draw upon a lot of experience. As we move forward in this presentation, I want you guys to interact, share some stories with each other. I'm going to ask you to do that. So if we can partner up, experienced coaches with first-time coaches, that would be great. Why don't we go ahead and have a seat now, and I'll ask you to move once we get there. So, what positive coaching? What does it mean by show of hands?
Being nice.
Being nice? That's a pretty baseline expectation, right? As a coach, you should be pretty nice. Okay, I like that. That's okay.
Being a role model.
Being a role model, obviously, we want to model how we want our players to act and react. And while being nice is a part of it, and while being a role model is a part of it, positive coaching is much more than that, right? We want to make sure that we teach life lessons through the vehicle of sport, whatever sport that we're coaching. Okay, that's really what we want to accomplish here. And we create an atmosphere that allows our athletes to perform at their best, right? We want to make sure every time that they come into practice, they come to a game, they're ready to perform at peak performance. So, power of positive coaching here as expressed by Barbara Fredrickson. We all know, right? Positivity and negativity doesn't work well as positivity. That's that first line here in this quote. Barbara Fredrickson, lots of information, lots of research to show that negativity just does not work well as positivity, okay? Can I have a volunteer as well to read that second quote right there from Barbara Fredrickson?
Positive emotions are especially contagious, and a leader's positive emotions are more contagious than anger.
So just as you touched on earlier, Jack, it's important that we as coaches are role models, and we need to recognize that a leader's emotions, and most importantly, positive emotions, are infectious and can spread to the whole team. All right, that's really what Barbara Fredrickson is looking to accomplish right here. So, and finally, to reinforce that, here's an article from Sports Illustrated, and it's titled "The Last Days of the Abusive Coach." Right? Why is that? Why is that? What defines an abusive coach? What would you say, right? Someone that verbally berates or physically is aggressive towards a player. Well, those days are done, guys. Research shows that positivity is the way to allow our athletes to operate at peak performance. And as you will see, we have plenty of coaches that are willing to stand with the Positive Coaching Alliance and agree that positivity is the way to go. We have coaches from the top levels of all competition, right, that are willing to say, I want my players, I want my children, I want all of my family to be able to operate under a positive coach, right? Look at one example right here, Doc Rivers. He is actually fortunate enough to coach his son in the NBA, and he is a positive coach. You can imagine, right? Just how impactful positive coaching can be in the relationship between coach and player and father and son. What is one thing that all of these coaches have in common? And can anyone raise their hand, maybe? One thing that all these coaches have in common?
They're winners.
Winners, right? So PCA, we strive to teach that. We want to win. Absolutely. We are the most competitive people out there. I know when I get on a basketball court, it doesn't matter whether it's an 8-year-old or an 80-year-old grandfather. I want to go out there and I want to play my best and I want to win, right? But I also recognize as a coach that when a player goes out there and competes for me, I have the unique opportunity to teach life lessons. And these coaches agree that there's an opportunity to teach a life lesson here in the sport of basketball. For further solidification of why positivity, and the research shows that positivity works, is that with Charlie and Ken here, they see negativity distracts you from your task. That's really the most important thing. It keeps you away from being in the moment. Anyone have an example I'd like to share where this could possibly affect a player? Well, real fast. Why don't I give you one? A player goes down on the court, they shoot a shot and they miss, and they're running back on defense. In that moment, if they're negative and you're a coach saying that, hey, you needed to, shoot that shot with better release, it's distracting them from getting back on defense. Perfect example right there. So by a show of hands, you guys, do we agree? Positivity works better, negativity distracts. Does everyone agree on that? Does anyone disagree with that? No? I mean,
sometimes as a coach, I got to criticize. I got to let them know, you did that poorly.
Absolutely, right? Sometimes negativity in the moment, it comes out. It comes out in the form of a criticism, comes out in the form of a correction, right? But that's really what we in the moment. Sometimes we need to take that teachable moment and park it and save that for another time. And we're going to talk about that later, right? So while negativity and while corrections is the job of a coach, we also want to make sure that we do that in a positive atmosphere. So, you notice sometimes negativity works. Why do we think there's so much negativity in sports? And real quick, before we answer that question, I want everyone to go ahead, stand up. And as we mentioned before, we talked about first year, second year, third year coaches. I want you to go ahead and line yourself around the room where first year coaches, so Ben, that's going to be you right over here, first year coaches, all of our coaches with experience. I want you to line up over here. So anyone with 5+ years, you're going to be over here, all right? Now, question. Why do you think there's so much negativity in sports? Give you 30 seconds. Ready to go. Jack, I'll be here.
I was watching the games just the other day. I think that's all.
I think
You see it all the time. Yeah, absolutely. It's easy to be a coach that comes out there and says, "Hey, it's easy to see the negative. It's so much easier." Absolutely. All right. Looks like we're wrapping up the discussions here. Anyone care to share one reason they thought why negativity was in sports?
Well, Ben thought it was because negativity is easier sometimes. It just seems to work faster.
Mm-hmm. Great example there. Yeah, absolutely. And there are many more words in our vocabulary for negative emotions or negativity. It's in the dictionary, guys. If you went through each positive word and negative word, there's a lot more of that. Can anyone share one thing maybe their partner said? Well, I can do that. I was with you, Jack, right? I was your partner. One thing that Jack said, that it's in sports, right? It's in the media. We see it all the time when the camera pans to the baseball player after striking out. He's breaking his bat and he's throwing the water cooler down, okay? Thanks for standing up, guys. We can go ahead and have a seat now. Negativity is in sports. It's all over the place. But what we as coaches and as positive coaching need to realize that negativity is not always the way to go. Negativity will, as research has shown, will stop our athletes in their tracks and not allow them to move forward. As PCA coaches, our vision, create better athletes, better people. Right here. That's our goal, guys. We're going to talk about this a little bit later in the intro, what kind of legacy do you want to lead as a coach so that we can create better athletes and better people? So again, as you all are here in this workshop and all you guys have text to sign in, we're going to make sure that you guys get plenty of information and support from us on how to be double goal coaches. Now, let me just make sure everyone should have a copy of their double goal workshop book. Can everyone raise that and show that to me? All right, great. You guys, we're going to be using this a lot. I mean, you're going to see this beat up. I got things written in it. I got pages earmarked and everything. You can go ahead and throw this in your bag. You can take this with you to practice, take it to the game. If there's ever a quick moment and you can realize, oh, what's the best way to do that? Use it as a resource. Great resource right here, okay? Talking points. Those are going to be weekly emails that we send to you guys, which is just another resource for you guys to know about coaching and possible scenarios that you have to overcome. And finally, the Dev Zone there, you guys will have access to that as well. Plenty of good articles and good research there. Now, this is a pretty heady question, you guys. What makes a great youth sports experience for kids? We can all think about that. How many of us were on youth sports teams? Yep, absolutely, right? We can think back to those days. What were some of the things? Hopefully, we were all a part of at least one team that we felt was a success, right? That we felt strongly to be on that team. We felt like we were a part of the team. What was it? Can anyone shout out anything that makes a positive, a great youth sports experience? Something that maybe you felt with your teammates on that youth team?
With my friends. Yeah.
Ben, absolutely. How often do you have a chance to be on a team with 13, 15, or if it's a football team, maybe 50 of your best friends? Absolutely. Great example. Thank you, Ben. Anyone else?
We had a lot of fun.
Yeah, Kelly, thank you. You had a lot of fun. Al?
I like my coach.
You liked your coach?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Great things, having fun, being with friends, feeling connected to the coach. Those are all ideas that we have well, those are all really real experiences that we truly feel when we are connected and when we are having a great youth sports experience. All right. I think Ben answered the first one right here, feeling connected to your teammates and coach. Al and Ben, you both hit on that first mark, right? That is the number one thing that PCA feels, the number one impact line that PCA feels will help athletes have a better experience, all right? Number two, believing that they can improve. When you were on that team, did you show up to practice every day knowing that you could improve? Did you feel like your coach was there supporting you when you were trying to improve? All right, that's another big impact point that will show that our athletes are having a feeling and act, okay? Sometimes it's not what you do, it's how you do it, right? Anytime you can walk into the office Monday morning and, it's hard to be there. You've gotten beat up, you got the emails, it's tough, but you show up there and when you're in that Monday morning meeting, you're proud to be there. You stand up, you act with integrity and give all the information and everything you have on that Monday morning meeting. That's the same way that when we show up on the court and something happens, we make sure that we act accordingly and responsibly. And we're going to talk about 3 ways that we can make sure that our athletes are feeling connected, athletes can improve, and that athletes can act with integrity. Now, if these 3 things what might happen? What on a great team, you were having fun with your team, you felt connected with your coach, right? These are all positive things that can happen. One of the things that I want to ask you guys, as we are coaches and being together with life lessons, it all comes together. I want to move forward here and talk about the 3 tools that will help us feel connected, make sure we're improving and acting with integrity. First, we have the emotional tank. All right, that's going to be the second part of our workshop today. We also, for improving, we have the elm tree of mastery, right? We're going to learn that effort and learning is how we master our goals and continually improve. Finally, acting with integrity, honoring the game is going to be the model for which we act with integrity when we're on the court. Right now, I asked you a question earlier, okay? And I want us to all have our coaching books out. I want us to just keep that to the side right in front of you for a second, because I'm going to ask you to write something in that book. After we listen to Herm Edwards here talking about our legacy, I want you all to think about your coaching legacy.
When the book of your life is written, what will it look like? Will it say you made a difference? If you really want to make a difference, you have the ability with young people in mind that through sports, they learn a lot about life. How you handle these young players, I think is very, very important in their growth. Most of these players will not go on to be professionals. The opportunity they have in sports is really a part of their life. Learn how to compete. That's probably the most important thing. The way you compete is important. You have to understand, someone's going to win, someone's going to lose. But at the end, how do you handle that situation is probably the most important thing if you're going to have a successful life.
Thank you, Herm. A couple things you said right there, guys. Learning how to compete, learning how to act with integrity. This is what PCA is all about. Now, we had us stand into groups earlier. I want you to go ahead and stand back up into your groups. And I want you to think about this question before you move. What is my coaching legacy? We're going to get up into the same circle. I want you to turn to a new partner. I want you to just take 30 seconds each discussing what our legacy as a coach is going to be. What's your legacy? Go ahead.
What's your legacy?
Okay, stand up.
Wow. Funny you mentioned that.
Don't be such a
You
rude.
Yeah, right.
Okay, my coaching legacy, I want to make sure all the kids
Remember that.
understand that I'm on their side now.
Question.
I would say I'd want to be like a voice.
People to.
Almost one of
Your first time coach. I know you might not have coached.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Want the kids to have fun.
That's
and
deep,
to
too.
improve. Lord.
I know.
You want
So
to be
maybe those 3
lifelong.
things. That
Yeah, you want to
being
speak.
connected.
You want to speak. Yeah.
Connecting,
You want to be
improving,
part of the
honoring
be
your
their
coach.
coach.
Yeah.
Right?
I like that.
Yeah, I like those 3
I'm
things. Maybe
upgrading
I'll do
mine.
that.
Always kind of like
Just my new
Like
legacy.
coaching.
yeah.
Legacy.
Totally. Because
I
I
like
think
it.
it's
I
also
like it.
just that.
Cool.
Like, no,
All
there's
right.
I'm thinking about you a lot.
Looks like we're wrapping it up here.
Yeah.
So why don't we go ahead and have a seat?
Yeah.
And now, I want you guys to, I'm going to ask for a volunteer. And that volunteer, I want you to first state what the other coach you talk to, what their legacy is going to be. And I'm going to ask for a volunteer, and if I don't get one, I know who I'm calling.
Okay.
Me?
Jack, go for it, man.
So I'm telling you what Al's saying. So Al wanted to be remembered as a coach that they all knew he was on their side. Like he there for them, cared about them, built the team that way.
Oh, really nice. I love that one. And that goes back to that first principle, right? Feeling connected. Jack, you want to share what your legacy is?
Yeah, what mine
You want
was,
it to
I
be?
said like I wanted to be a voice in their head when they're older and they're thinking about what are they gonna do? Should I do this? Is this something that I think is right? Or just like a voice, like not when I'm there, but like a voice in my head.
You know, I think that really speaks to our third principle, right? Acting with integrity, honoring the game. You know, we can think what would Coach Jack tell us to do in this situation? Very well done. A couple of really great examples there. Thank you, gentlemen. Let's just let this sink in. When the book of your life is written, what will it say that you made a difference? Now, he references a book right there. So again, Power of Double Goal coaching book right here. As I have written on this first page, okay, whatever your legacy is, I want you to go ahead and write it right there. I want you to remember it every time that you open this Double Goal coaching book. Whatever it is, go ahead and write it on there. You can see I don't have the best handwriting. It's okay. Write it down. Make sure that every time you open this book, you can circle back to that. So when you bring it to practice, you open up that book, you can circle back to your legacy. Make sure you understand that. Now, again, as the Double Goal coach, we strive to win, right? We are competitors. You know, we do want to see the scoreboard, and we want to see ourselves ahead, right? But we're not willing to do that at any cost, right? We want to teach life lessons along the way. And sometimes as a coach, it's difficult to make that decision. I mean, there are so many life lessons that we can learn through sport, right? Does anyone have an example of a life lesson that they learn in sport?
Teamwork.
Teamwork, perfect example.
Sportsmanship.
Tennis or bowling, right? You still got to have a coach. You still got to learn and maybe even work with a team. You might be on the national team, right? Okay, great. Anyone else?
Teach them how to compete.
How to compete? Absolutely. In competing, you can compete. You can communicate with your team, right? Working well with others. Anyone else? Shout them out if you have some.
Winning and losing gracefully.
Winning and losing gracefully. Thank you, Ruben. I appreciate that. Goal setting, Jack, right there. There's 5 right there, and there are 5 of us here today.
Learning to fail.
Learning to fail, overcoming adversity. Man, we have so many of them, right?
Time management.
Boom, time management. Sometimes you got homework, you got finals, you got practice and a game the next day. Yeah, you gotta learn how to all those things. All those are great examples of how we can teach life lessons through our vehicle of sport, and while striving to compete and to win. And that wraps up the intro.
Good. Nice work, Matt.
2 minutes. All right. I could have
Yeah,
brought it
it's
down.
right on, man. That's good.
Yeah.
I could have brought it back down a little bit. All right.
Yeah, good job.
Feedback, please.
Let's do
And I don't need a 5-to-1 positive ratio.
That's okay. Yes.
Well, I'd appreciate it.
Everybody.
Kelly, do you want to guide this?
Sure. Matt, how'd you feel doing it live in front of real people finally?
For the most part, I felt okay. I definitely felt myself trip up once or twice, and I thought you just kind of had to reset and start over with the next slide. But overall, I felt okay. I give myself a passing grade. But, I am also critical on myself. So anyway,
Aren't we all? Aren't we all?
Now,
All right. Well, go ahead.
What were you trying to do differently or improve upon from your other demos?
one thing, and I think it actually helped that you guys, at least here, that they stood and they got to move, because I kind of got to get the internal time clock in my head on when I needed to wrap it up. I don't know, Jack and Ben, you saw me kind of get away from you right there when we were talking. So that was certainly different, and that was new. And another thing was just trying to connect maybe something at the end of the intro to the beginning, which learning the life lessons or modeling the coach, it was pretty easy to do. So I tried to strive to do that. And I think that only helps you as you move forward with the material. Those were 2 things I definitely tended to work on. The other thing, which I kind of got from Al, is knowing when to slow down, maybe take a pause. I think for the intro, what is a positive, meaningful youth sports experience? That's the moment, right? Yeah. So
Yeah, I definitely could sense that there was a couple of times where you were intentional about, let this sink in. And you made this statement, and it was powerful, because it wasn't just all yeah. It was real,
which I can
intentional.
Yeah, I can get very
Yeah.
rah-rah.
Well, sure.
to the team.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you feel that as a coach, and the audience do that. Students, coach, like I can feel that energy. So that everybody's got their coaching style, and it's like, all right, I understand my style. It works. So I appreciate hearing that.
And that's something, Matt, that you have as an asset. If you're a pretty high energy person, and you can bring it down and slow it down, that's where your emphasis will be. Some trainers are more mellow, and in order to, get somebody's attention, they get louder. But if you're naturally a louder, high energy person, bringing it down and getting quiet and slower is actually where people lean in. So that's a really cool tool that you have to be able to use. I would love to hear from the people in the room. I'd love to hear, you guys were participants at his workshop, just as if you were coaches. What stuck out for you? What did you like? Were the explanations clear on what he was asking you to do? And what would you suggest that he improves on when he goes out to a workshop and there's 50 coaches instead of just 5?
What do you think, Al? You want to go first?
Sure. Well, I thought a really strong point, and I talked about this, and you made a really nice change in it, was driving the coaches to the workbook.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And you spent a pretty good amount of time and really gave them specific instructions about, dog ear it, highlight it, throw it in their bag, so I thought that was really great. I appreciated that a lot. I think I would have liked you to, if you're going to read a slide and not take a section out of it and read a section, because I got a little confused. I was going, wait a minute, where is he?
Here, you paper.
Well, I got one over here.
Okay. We'll wait for him to
Nope, I got you.
catch up.
I just want to make sure I jot it down.
Yeah, I thought, as a lot of us have when we've done these, I thought you got stronger as your workshop went on. You kind of hit your rhythm and got going, and I felt it just smoothed out a lot toward the end.
Okay, thank you. I would totally echo. I totally agree.
Yeah,
definitely.
To feel that way.
Yeah, I felt that way.
I wanted the intro. Like, who are you? What do you coach? How are you here? Why are you here? Like, we jumped in. I was like, oh, yeah. And like, we know you. But, like, in a room, like, you're going to have to, like, why is Matt here? So I think that's just, and that's a good couple minutes. Like, it doesn't have to be credibility. Like, I coach here, coach there. It's like, I'm doing this because I care about youth sports in the world, or youth sports in general. And I think being a positive coach is like being change agent.
Absolutely.
So it's a stage level.
Okay, so taking a minute for that.
Yeah.
I have lots of notes here. I think I just think from the get-go you have really great energy. I mean, it just you have captivating presence, and so I don't think energy is ever going to be the issue, which is a good thing, because without that, this natural charisma, it's really hard to bring people up to that. So the fact that you just have that is the win. I thought pretty early on you made a good insertion of a personal story about wanting to be competitive in that section about, like, look, we want to be competitive. I'm competitive, in fact, and you told a story about you wanting to win, and I think that that's important to introduce. That was your first time to introduce something about Matt and about
I think the details of that. Like, I play a rec league every week. It doesn't matter who I'm playing. Like, try to be my best. Like, if I make a 3, I fist bump. Like, that's cool.
Absolutely.
So stuff like that, I think, just gets people to be like, oh, this is a person.
Absolutely.
Is that all, Ben, that you had?
Oh, no. I got lots.
I see his sheet there.
Go ahead.
See myself now.
I thought you did a great job of shifting Jack's negative comment in a way that didn't make what he said feel like it was wrong, but like took it and spun it in a good way. I love the book. You pulled it out. You mentioned it. It was you. You said it's written in, and it was really written in. And you said it was dog-eared, and it was really dog-eared. We can even loan you a highlighter and highlight it up. Like, make this thing look like. I mean, it does. It gets tossed. It tells a good story that it's authentically used. I love that. You had a really good pause right before you said, "What makes a good youth sports experience?" I mean, you commanded attention to this is going to be a heady and impactful question, but I want you to think about this and let it sink. It's like really good.
You said it was going to be heady.
Yeah.
Really.
Let this quote sink in. I wrote that down because that to me was in powerful words. There was a lot of opportunities as well. I think I felt you looking at the screen too much. I think you were reading the slides. And which to me, I think is one is that there's probably some nerves in doing this, and it's your audition and whatever, and comfort. But what we're trying to do is like, you know this material, and you coach and you use this stuff. So really, we can get away from that and just tell us stories. Like, and what? So then, if you're going to do that, then what is the story you're trying to tell in the intro?
Yeah.
I mean, what is the intro? Why do we do the intro of the workshop?
The intro is kind of setting the stage for the 3 principles that we teach, really, and it's really getting the coaches on board with what we're about to give them.
Right.
It's setting them up to receive the information that we give.
Okay. So yeah. So if you know that this is what this 20 minutes is about, is laying the groundwork for positive works better, right? Then what you should never say is negativity is not always the way to go. Because that was a quote you said, and it was like, well, negativity, we would almost argue like is never the way to go. Like, so we want to make sure and be really intentional with how we talk about the difference between positive and negative. Because that's a big part of the intro is understanding, all right, so why do we do negative? Because it's easy, because we default to it, because of this, and because of this. It's like, right, it's reaction, it's not intentionality. And like really owning that separation between negative and positive and not letting it be gray, I think. I don't know. Y'all can correct me if y'all.
No, I think it's good.
But I think that was a really thing that needs to just be more clear is that there's a difference, and negative is easy, and negative is react, and negative is what we've experienced personally because coaches, that's how the old abusive coach was, right? And then one of the things I marked is like you said PCA feels, and I would argue that PCA knows from 20 years of experience. Like like we don't just, this isn't how we feel. This is because science proves this. The best coaches, and no longer we can accept this negative stuff, and we know that this works better.
Make it
concrete. Yep, concrete.
Make it concrete.
I
totally agree.
Yeah, and then the last one that I wrote down is opportunity.
Ben, could I just add one thing there? So
please
a phrase that I've heard trainers use and I've adopted is we know from research and experience. So it's both. You know, it's the research, it's the act, plus what we've experienced, what Doc Rivers has experienced, what Summer Sanders, so we know from research and experience, blah 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 blah, whatever it is.
Yep.
And the we is important too, Matt. It's we. You're a part of PCA. We know.
You're a we.
Yeah.
We.
It's not PCA knows. It's we know.
We know.
Yeah.
We know. Or we at PCA know, but you're part of it. Yeah. Thanks, Ben.
Yeah, no, I think that I had one more thing, and I think it's you were giving examples of the E-Tank or feeling connected.
Yeah, I got lost there.
Okay, well, because the integrity one, like you went on the story about Monday morning.
What was I doing? No,
Monday morning meetings. I'm like, there's so many great examples of.
Yeah, that was
people.
What was I? Go ahead and just shoot me in the.
No. Just
I was like, what the heck? Okay.
What do you want somebody to know about honoring the game?
Well, no,
Monday morning.
What the heck was I doing right there? Yeah, I totally agree. Thank you for calling me out.
Hey, man. It's not a call out. It's just, I think there's opportunity there to find out what story do I want to tell, or what couple of stories. Yeah, and I've been there exactly where you were, where I start down the story and I'm like, what am I telling this story for?
Yellow brick road. No.
Yeah, no. But I mean, the reason I listed these are really easy fixes.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's just, overall, it's like fantastic job, and you understand the content, you know the content, and you can tell this is who you are. So I want to see more of just Matt and like confidence and like, yeah, I know this stuff. So forget about what's behind me and let's just have this right here.
I got this. And more of this, only going to help. But I told Lindsay when he left, I was like, man, I really want to get out and I want to see you do one of these things. And I definitely feel that minus that story and minus a couple of things, I definitely feel as the weeks have progressed, I've felt more comfortable. It's, you know, the content has been, and the slides have kind of been the blanket that comforts you. I would say as you're going through the presentation. So the more that I get comfortable getting away from that, I think the better I'll be.
Yeah. I mean, I can tell a huge improvement even from the demo I watched. Yeah. So no, I mean,
I didn't say real quick 1,000 times, Kelly. Yes.
I didn't pick that up once. I thought that was good.
Yeah, I never felt rushed at all through this whole experience, and I also never was like, "Is this over?" either. You know, I felt like you paced it really well, which is hard to do in this section.
Absolutely.
Kelly, do you mind if I go next? Because I feel like what I wanted to say really ties in with what Ben just shared.
Go right ahead.
Thank you. So the way I would describe it, Matt, and I think it's very much along the lines of what Ben and probably what Jack and Al are thinking too, is in terms of the slides and bullet points, I would keep that part simple. The explanations, what you say about what's on a slide, I would keep those words brief and keep it simplified. And what that does is it creates the space, Matt, for what Ben is looking for a few of your anecdotes, not necessarily off the cuff, you know, prepared, you know, hey, this is where I'm going to talk about the time when I coached Betty and she just, whatever, it's a prepared story. It's a rehearsed story, but by spending little time and words on bullet points and slides, it creates the space for you to do that. And then it creates all the more space for you to pull us in, to draw stories out of us. I think trainer stories are powerful. And Kelly's heard me say this before. I think the participant stories can be even more powerful, you know? So I don't know, Ben, if that's consistent with what you were expressing, but that, you know, it felt like we wanted to say the same thing. So I wanted to share that. And then Kelly, you know, I'm just so impressed with Matt's, this has been said, but I got to repeat it. You know, Matt, your presence, your charisma, your personality, your poise. I mean, my goodness, what great tools those are. And, you know, Kelly and I, we get to see a lot of trainer candidates, and I don't mean this as a put down to anybody else, but just in terms of, you give me 20, 50, 100 PCA new trainers or trainer candidates, and you're going to be one of my top draft picks, just because I think that what you bring is so strong.
I'm second round right now. Get to that lottery pick, Ruben.
I'll take Steph. There was a draft, did there?
Yep, Steph Curry first, and then you're somewhere after that.
Right. So does every other kid. Okay, thank you, Ruben.
Yes, you're welcome.
I agree with everything. I'm not gonna give you more to your 5-to-1 ratio than you've already gotten from these guys, Matt. But here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna challenge you to know what's coming on the slides without having to look at it. I'm gonna challenge you to engage me as a coach, find out what my problems are, and we at PCA have the solution through those 3 principles that are up there on the board. So instead of looking at it as I'm giving you information that's going to help you be a better coach, which is what you're doing, you're actually solving a problem that they have, and you have super creative, research-based, experience-based, story, credibility ways to do it. So when you're looking at those 3 principles that are up there, instead of explaining what they are, why would a coach want to fill an emotional tank of a kid? What problem is he having? What challenge is he having with that player?
Well, you're asking me?
I'm asking you.
Absolutely. That the kid's not going into practice, really. I mean, he's very despondent, if you will. He's not responding.
Right. So when I explain that slide, I start with, have you ever had a player, ... You know, have you ever had a player that you just can't connect with no matter how hard you try? Maybe his emotional tank's not full. We're going to get into that principle first. Have you ever had a great team that had a lot of talent, but they just weren't motivated, or they just didn't give 100% effort? We're going to talk about that with Elm Tree of Mastery. And what if you didn't show up for practice one day? Would your players be doing what you want them to be doing? They probably need some help with honoring the game. You know, that took about 30 seconds, and there's the slide, and there's the principles, and you just did kind of a buy-in like why they need to be listening to this is because they probably have players that have issues similar to the ones you have. That's another thing that I think you come across very confident, which you are, and I love it. You've got a lot of confidence, a lot of presence. Your voice quality is great. You've got, animation. I would love to hear where you've messed up at some point, because I think sometimes when you come off so confident, you don't mean to do it. You are confident, you should be. But it's always nice for the coaches to connect with you by hearing, man, you know what? I am here to share this with you because guess what? I wasn't perfect. I made a lot of mistakes. This is, I think that just kind of, I don't want to say breaks the ice. It kind of just makes everybody a little bit more relaxed. Like, okay, he's a real guy. He's just like me. And these aren't tools and principles that you need a master's degree in sports psychology to use. These are simple, really simple things you can do tomorrow just by tweaking some of your language or changing the way you look at something or reframing your team to say, that's not the way we do this here. So I think because you've got the content, because you've got the charisma, you've got the energy, you're not afraid to get coaches up and moving and talking. There's so many cool things that you could do with a workshop, even at this point, being brand new, that could just take you, it would just make your workshop so much more fun. And we're trying to coach up coaches to change behavior. And that's never going to happen just by giving them lots of information, no matter how fantastically you deliver it. We want them to chew on it, try it, think about it, challenge it, think about a kid they have that could use a mistake ritual. Think about how they could put in a winner circle into their practice. What could they do? And make them laugh and, make them do something silly or whatever it is. But I really think that's something that you'll be able to do pretty easily.
I got juggling in the future in the principles coming up. That's going to be pretty good.
I like it. I like it.
How to bring that in. But can I just ask? So the where I messed up, I love that. But doing that up front in this first portion is kind of, it's humanized me in the intro, basically, right?
Yeah.
Bring everyone together on a human level.
Yes.
Where we've all messed up, and then here's how we can solve it.
Yeah.
Right on the intro. I think that's what I'm going to take away the most from you, Kelly.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's brilliant. Thank you.
So I think the phrase "where I messed up" is a good phrase to have in mind, and that could lead you where Kelly's taking you. I want to throw out another phrase. What I'm trying to improve on, or what I'm working on now, is blah blah blah. Mm-hmm. So it's very similar, one phrase, the other. But yeah, you're a work in progress too.
Yeah,
just like Kelly.
Yeah. Cool.
And also, I think the power right up front too, when you're talking about power of positive, is having me as a coach in your workshop think about the influence that a positive or negative person or coach had on me. So I think that's something, you can get to that when you get to E-Tanks, but I think right up front, if you're talking about the power of positive, rather than hearing what Barbara Fredrickson said, I think that's good. She's backing you up. But if you tell me to think right now about a coach that was a negative influence in my life, I'm starting to sweat because I was 12 years old and she was screaming down my throat from the sidelines, and that's a real emotion that's going to get me to go, man, am I that coach? Am I the one? And, we have a trainer in New Jersey that often said he had a football coach that would grab his face mask and scream at him, and spit went flying into the kid's face. And he said, I hated it. But his first year of coaching football, the first drop of spit that came out of his mouth and hit a player, he went, oh my gosh, I'm that coach. Like, that's who I am. So, that's a quick, easy story, but it makes an impact. And it's something that you can make everybody in the room go, man, who am I? Who do I want to be?
Yeah, I definitely had that lined up for, I think you even used kind of where we have Maya Angelou.
Yeah.
Right there, that's kind of where I thought that. But bringing that back into the intro, and again, humanizing it, seeing what I've done, getting the experience from the other coaches, I totally agree. Bringing that in will be as strong on that.
So Matt, now
three principles.
Right, because different rooms will be different ways. Like you'll have a big room or small rooms.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
so Matt, now that we've given you all this stuff that you can work into the intro.
Yeah.
Well, here's the
It's still the intro.
It's all over. It's bringing it in all over the presentation. I know it's not going to all fit in the intro.
But I think the cool thing about it, though, real quick, Ruben, is if you do bring up a story that somebody said or somebody brings up, when you get to Elm Tree of Mastery later, or you get to honoring the game later, you can come back to it. And there's nothing better than a coach sitting in the room and you're like, oh, Ron, that story you told about your baseball coach when you were little, that fits right in here. Or, you know, because I ask, whenever somebody shares something at my workshops, I ask for their names. And it's just really powerful to be able to say, like, wow, you know what, Bob, Matt, thanks for sharing that story. This is mastery. This is what we're talking about right here. That story you shared in the beginning. You know, so it makes the workshop connect to the people pretty fast.
I have to say it because my last time I observed a trainer, veteran trainer, good trainer, he was 57 minutes on his intro.
Whoa.
Okay, so you know, I think you're getting some awesome input here. Matt, you're getting some awesome input here, and it's also, you know, if you try to do everything, it can be like this trainer's 57 minutes. You know, so
thesis.
Yeah. I want to get him on board with me. I don't want to drive him away.
Did I train that guy? Don't tell me. I don't want to know. But I think I know Ben and Jack are excited too, and Al to get you out there in Portland. I think you are ahead of the gang right now, which is awesome. So I think the best thing to do is get you out there in front of live people.
Yeah, well, I'd like to see a few other guys do it. So first, before I get in front of live people, if that's okay, at least one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and so I will definitely get in front of that, and yeah, I'm going to take all this back. I mean, this isn't a whole lot that I have to integrate. I think I'm pretty confident on it that I can integrate it here.
Do we know when the first Rip City Academy coaches thing that you'll get to do is coming? I mean,
don't know. I don't have that yet.
Okay.
And so that with that, it lets you know what I'm doing. I'm putting together documentation right now and just what I've learned, where I think are, you know, basically a SWOT analysis, what we can do. And then really what I want to do is in January, after the new year, I want to get you guys in a room with Krista as well and me. I want to present that to you guys and then make sure that everyone's on the same page going in for 2018. Just because, I mean, we're doing coaching clinics, but it's not involving PCA.
Right.
I'll bring in like a note or something,
nugget.
you know, and I'll just say, hey, you know, PCA does happen to be a PCA coach as well, but it's nothing solidified, and so that's what I'm working on right now.
Yeah, good. Okay.
So I'll make sure you guys have that ahead of our meeting whenever I plan that. I know the end of the year is just super hectic. I can barely see Kristen.
But I can be a thought partner with you on that to make sure, because I want to make sure the Blazers are happy and that we can integrate as much as possible. So
absolutely,
I'd love to.
You will see that well ahead of the meeting.